There we go. Okay, now we're recording. Interesting week. Yes, it has been interesting. It's been an interesting year. It's been interesting. So, okay, well, I think that we should just get going. If other people hop on when they do, find out if they need support or not. Yeah, so who wants to go first? Kelly, Megan, or Kelsey? Megan? Okay.
Go first. I don't know exactly what I'm going to share yet, but I figure it'll just come as it needs to come.
Wonderful manifester.
Yeah. So we start with wins.
Yes, wins last month, and then what's one thing that shifted and one thing you need support with.
Okay.
Or not need, would like.
Yeah. This month has been wild. It's honestly hard to even remember what happened this month with the move and everything. So as I reflect on the last month, I think one of the biggest wins is just being able to navigate so much change, having moved towns and having sold our house and moving into a renting situation. Just moving and feeling like really supported through the entire thing. Just feeling totally financially supported, feeling supported by just like in this program and the different programs I'm in for my other professional development, and also just by community. It's really beautiful because we're moving to an area where we actually have a lot of friends who we've been friends with for like a decade. So it's just been so fun moving here and reconnecting with land and mountains that we used to live in. So I don't know, that feels like a really big win, is just moving back into the place where we want to be. And another big win is Into Gold Like a Goddess, which was the last program that I was doing. I had so much fun actually doing that program, and it felt like a really big change from some of the past programs I've done. Like there was pretty low engagement, and I think that was probably like my manifestor coming through and just like not understanding where people needed support and being like, okay, well, they're not reaching out and I'm checking in and what's going on. But I just feel like being in this program and understanding more about the needs of, because most of the people who come into my programs are generators and mani-gens. And so understanding how they work and being able to change my style in how I facilitate for them has been really helpful. And I've been seeing that the engagement has been different, and people have been engaging more, and like also letting me know when I think what would happen in past programs is people would get stuck, but I would reach out to them, but they wouldn't really let me know how they were stuck or that they were stuck, and they just kind of stayed stuck and then they just never continued on. Whereas this time it's people are letting me know that they're stuck, and they're letting me know that they're experiencing resistance, and they're letting me know these things so that I can come in and provide, so that I could go in and provide resources. So yeah, Into Gold Like a Goddess just felt like a really nice program, and I had a lot of fun. So that was a really big win, is just doing a program that felt really exciting and I had energy for, because, as a manifestor, usually I have like different ideas for programs probably like 3 times a week, and it's like choosing what ones to go with. And usually by the time I've actually started creating a program and implementing the program, I'm kind of like, okay, been there, done that, I'm ready to move on now. But I didn't feel that with this one. Like I felt that sometimes, but I was like so excited about the content, and I was so excited about the program that even when I felt that desire to start moving on and shifting and changing, I still was able to ground back, and I feel like have the energy to sustain that. So that was a really cool experience. And another big win is I just received, I have a clarity call today or a sales call. I call them clarity calls for Wealthy Goddess, which is the program that I've kind of been leading everything up to. So I'm really excited for that. That program doesn't start until I think probably October. So that was exciting.
Ooh, that does sound so exciting. It's been neat to see like the stuff that you post in the group and that just to see your process too as a manifester. I think we find that helpful too to see how your energy works. So
Awesome, thanks. Yeah. And shifts. I think one shift that I've been really feeling is, I think with being full-time in a business, I guess it's been now a little bit over a year since I've been full-time, fully in my business. And I think so much of that time, I just felt kind of like it wasn't real. And like, it's like, where's the paycheck coming from, you know, just to go from having a salaried position and receiving a paycheck every 2 weeks to just kind of this feeling of like, it doesn't feel quite real because I don't have that steady income flow. And also just feeling like this sense that it's just all going to fall apart. I've been sharing about that a little bit in the last probably month, but a shift from that is I'm focusing more on like that hasn't totally gone away yet. I think it's going to take probably years for that to actually completely shift, but I'm definitely noticing a shift in that, like in this move. I think in the past, like if I had done this move a while ago and I knew that I didn't have the energy or the focus or the time or the capacity to really be focusing on wild moon projects. And that would have really stressed me out in the past. I would have been like, oh my God, everything's going to fall apart. Everything's going to be terrible. But I actually just felt really supported and really held. And I was like, it's all going to be good. Maybe I make less money this month. Whatever. It's not a big deal. It's okay. You know, like, and I can come back and show up with energy. And it doesn't mean that if I have a smaller month that my business is totally fallen apart. It just means that I had a lower income month and it has the potentiality and possibility to shift drastically the next month and the next month. And so I think just like holding that inner frequency of trust and groundedness through the move with my business, I think was a really big shift for me.
that's awesome. I love hearing that.
Yeah. Okay.
Support.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks for the yays to everyone. And yes. Where I would like support. So right now where I am in things is I'm launching a program called Embody Goddess Daily. And and that's kind of going to be the program that happens right before I go into Wealthy Goddess. And I've got most of the sales page complete. And I'm just kind of at a place where I'm still trying to figure out pricing. And I'm also trying to figure out my marketing plan. I just haven't really sat down and taken the time to feel into what actually wants to come through. I'm thinking probably not. I don't know. I used to do like bigger marketing plans, but I'm thinking it's just meant to be a bit more low key. And then also a little bit of support with my sales call today would be also really helpful.
Okay. I don't know who I guess has seen Megan's post around this and maybe hasn't commented yet, but would like to share on the marketing and pricing for Embody Goddess Daily. Oh, Kelly?
I don't know if I saw the pricing one.
I think it was, kind of within a thread.
I don't have specific thoughts other than I don't know if you have the ability or capacity right now to do the client prescription momentum fueled launch or whatever. But I just watched that video. I watched it a bunch of times before I was really ready to absorb it, but it was so helpful. Kristen says that you should basically have like 3 growths, 3 shifts, and 3 objections. And then you can plan like a live or a challenge or a post or whatever around each of those things based on what feels fun.
Cool. Like, is that in a video, Kelly? I don't think you have time to go through the whole course right now.
Yes, it's a video. She just has one video and then she has a bunch of slides after that are like walking you through it. So you could totally just watch the video. I'm not sure if you have to like fake your way through the previous ones to get to there, or if you can just go to there, but it's like a 40-minute video.
And then, yeah, there's worksheets that go with it too, right?
So whatever feels better for how you want to digest some information, if you want to read or if you want to watch her little video. I thought it was super helpful.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I want to do that. I'm actually really excited to do that. And I think I was going to wait until after the Wealthy Goddess launch to do that, because I just wasn't sure. Because my understanding of that was it was more of kind of like a automated series that you were doing. Was that right? Or is it?
I mean, she walks you through making it more automated so you can be hands off, but it doesn't have to be. The whole point is like making it as simple and easy as what is going to work for you in this specific offer, in this specific launch. And the structure is basically what I just said. I mean, you could even take that and run with it if that felt good to you, like outlining the 3 shifts, 3 growths, 3 objections, and then choosing whatever feels fun to talk about each of those things.
What are the 3 objections?
So, for example, for mine, an objection to my program could be like, I just don't have the time to implement it. Or another objection could be that they're just avoiding the issue. They just don't want to see the clutter. They don't want to pay attention to it. And so for me, this is what I'm going to be talking about. I won't go into too much, but it's like deciding, do I want to do a live video that talks about the benefits of decluttering and how that declutters your energy and helps you focus, but pinpointing what the major energetic obstacle is for people signing up for your course, and then arguing against it or whatever, like challenging that objection. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. I just, out of context, I had no idea, but now it makes complete sense.
Cool.
Yes. Yeah, that will be helpful. I think that would be a helpful framework even to just for posts, and I'd probably do some lives, because I know that Kristen has said that the way that my audience connects with me best based off of my design is hearing me speak. So I definitely need to start showing up on live again. It's been probably close to 3 weeks. So yeah, thank you, Kelly.
That might be one way of doing it, is picking that one shift and then doing a live on it, and then from there seeing what where your inspiration leads you as far as the other shifts or the objections that might come up as you're providing the information, right? It would be part of that informing piece, would be just speaking to those things. So
yeah.
And then, yeah, pricing wise, I know we were talking about it a little bit, but I kind of got stumped on it too. I should maybe take a closer look at your sales page. See what do we got for comments here. Month long with coaching through the group. So Kelly's putting it out there at $1,200 for the month.
Yeah, that feels like a big stretch. That does. I think
$300 a week.
Yeah, that definitely feels like a really big stretch, because I don't even think, like with my Wealthy Goddess program, I'm only charging, I think, which has way more included, I think I'm only charging $222 a month.
Oh.
So then I think that price point would be really big of a stretch for me.
Oh, okay. So you were thinking, or I don't know, were you thinking, okay, what do we got? $444 for the month is what Kelly is saying now.
That feels more achievable. I was thinking, I think $222 and up would probably be a price point. And I was also thinking, like, if I have a low price point for Wealthy Goddess, and like, because I have 3 different program packages that you could choose from. And so like the low, I think, is $222. I don't remember what the mid is, but if it was like kind of corresponding with those pricings was one thought that I had, because if people were in that and they were used to paying either of those price points, then it would just feel like a natural maybe shift to be able to step into Wealthy Goddess as well and make those price points. So that was one thought I had.
Shelby said.
Yeah,
So
that's what Shelby's saying too, it looks like.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was trying to get across, I guess, in my comments, was like, it's a stepping, right? So we want to get them on the next step so that they're ready to take the next step into your next program, right? So would the 273 be a good stepping point, or does it need to be 333 or?
Yeah, I think either of those price points would probably be a stepping point, because depending on, I mean, whatever package they sign up for, that would be all close to the same price. But then with Wealthy Goddess, they would just be paying it every month instead of once.
Time. Yeah.
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 Yeah, so that, and then I guess my other question is, the reason why I've been having some trouble finding a price is just because I've never done a program like this. And there's part of me that's having a little bit of a hard time recognizing the value of a program like this. Like, I understand that it is valuable, but I've never participated in a program like this. And I think this is where I'm starting to really tap into the strength of my energy, which is helping people to initiate. And because that's not something that's hard for me, it's hard for me to actually recognize the value in that, because I've never sought support for that. So I don't know, maybe just support in, if I maybe hearing, I know that Deborah has shared with me and in the group about the Subag Kriya, where she's done a 40-day challenge, and she expressed that that was really helpful for her. So I definitely have heard that that's valuable in that capacity for her. And then I've done like the 5-day challenges where like so many women were telling me that it was really helpful for them. So I feel like I have that. And then I think I just maybe need to hear a little bit more that the things that I'm including in the program are actually valuable and would actually be supportive to people in getting them to that outcome.
This is helpful in terms of, so that Siva Kriya, like, it's a prosperity portal. I paid $108 for that, and we met like on Zoom about 2 to 3 times a week. There was also like, I forgot the name of the program, but it's kind of like, well, I mean, you'd probably do a Facebook group, but it was kind of a community space where people could share like what they were going through while they were going through that process. So we met like on new moons, like this was during Taurus season, so like we met on her birthday, new moons, full moons, but it was at least twice a week. But I don't know if that helps in terms of like pricing, because I mean, that is probably what I would also do if it helps to like look at what other people have done, just to gauge, and not necessarily to be like, oh, that's, then you could gut check that if you want. But I don't know if that helps in terms of giving you a range of what pricing could help with that. But just wanted to offer that.
Yeah, thanks, Deborah. I think 108 feels like a pretty low price point. I think maybe were there a lot of people in that program?
There were. I think it was like 30 to 50. It felt like a lot of people, but I'm thinking about the videos versus people who actually signed up. So definitely more people signed up than came to the classes, which were all recorded. So yeah, I mean, I would definitely say it was on the lower end for what she was offering, how much experience she has, for sure. She made it accessible, but yeah, that I would probably agree that it was on the lower end.
Yeah, thank you. It sounds like a low price point, but I could see maybe if there were a lot of people and it was all pre-recorded, and then that kind of helps me find deeper clarity because this is all live. There's going to be one recording, but pretty much everything is happening live. And then, so I guess also the coaching that would go into the Facebook group and like, yeah, all of the reminders. So I feel like I'd be putting forth a bit more energy than $108 price point per person.
This was live.
So it was live. I thought.
Yeah, but it's recorded, like what's happening right now, basically.
Oh, I see what you mean. Like
live,
online,
but recorded, so you could look at it later. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Do you foresee this being a program that you run again?
Yeah, I think so. I think because the way that I'm kind of seeing my business is that I have 3 main programs that I think I'll kind of alternate between, and Wealthy Goddess is one of them. And then I kind of have like Embody Goddess Daily and Into Gold Like a Goddess are going to be part of that launch. So I think every year that I relaunch Wealthy Goddess, that this challenge and Into Gold Like a Goddess will be part of that flow.
Okay. So one of the value points is like the first time that we run something, we put way more into it energetically and value in that than we would at something that we've run a third or fourth time. So there's a lot of value for people to come in this first time with you, just because of that.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, my cat is, I'm just gonna go grab something for my cat really quick.
Sure.
Sweetheart. She's like destroying my mantra chanting sheets. Like, no, please don't destroy those. Or she's not destroying them, she's playing with them. She's wrinkling them all up. But yeah, I definitely, and that's kind of something I always think about when I know that I plan to relaunch it. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes like the first time I run something, I'll make it way cheaper, like Into Gold Like a Goddess. Like I priced it really low. It was like $222 for 8 weeks of support and like a lot of one-on-one support from me in the group program, which to me was like an extremely low price point for everything that was being offered in the program. But I know that I'm going to be relaunching it again, and I'm going to be I'd probably be like over doubling the price for the program. So then part of me, anytime that I launch something for the first time and I plan to relaunch it, then I sometimes will have a lower price point, but then sometimes as a manifestor, I don't actually ever relaunch it because my plan, sometimes I think I'm going to be excited about it, and then I've taken like a whole new life trajectory. So I think,
sorry.
Oh, I just try to like balance that too, knowing that sometimes I'll just get really excited about something else and then constantly be in creation mode.
Yeah, so you should be paid for that.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just going to read what Shelby said. She says the value is going to be much more than you. Yeah, she says, I think the value is going to be much more than you are going to charge for it. So maybe that is why trying to capture the value in the price is difficult. Yeah, totally. I think so. I think it's always hard to actually capture something because it's like, definitely want to make it accessible to my community, and especially knowing that there could be like another bout of COVID coming on that just impacts people's financial situations. So I think it's trying to balance, trying to honor what I'm offering and trying to make it accessible, which is always really important to me. And also the fact that I've just never offered something like this. And because a lot of the programs that I've offered in the past have a lot of the things that I've included have been things that my mentors have included. So I saw the value in that, and I could like stand behind the value in that, and I could feel it. And so I think I'm having a hard time because I can't quite feel tangibly internally the value of it, because it's something totally new and it's something that I've never actually received. So I'm like, okay, I think it's valuable, but I don't know 100% yet. And so I know that when I try to create a price point, I know that I need to be able to energetically stand behind that number. Otherwise, it's just, there's going to be no weight in it. So I think that's why usually I don't have such a hard time coming up with prices as I do with this one. Yeah, I can change the price later for sure. Yeah, the beta price, I think that's the same as what I was talking about. Is that, Kelly, where I was saying how like the first time I run something, I usually offer it a bit cheaper? Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah.
Does anybody else have any feedback or anything they'd like to share with Megan? Oh, Kelly.
Just real quick, I looked at your website. It looks beautiful. I think the only thing that I'm missing is at the very end after the FAQ, just like another wrap up that's like why you really, really want someone to join or something. Just another like, love Megan.
Mm-hmm.
Take it or leave it.
Is that for Wealthy Goddess that you're speaking about? The Wealthy
Yes,
Goddess website?
the one
Okay.
that Shelby posted. Yep, the Wealthy Goddess.
Awesome. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Do you feel complete?
Yeah, I feel like I don't quite know an exact price point, but I feel like, yeah, I think the only thing that maybe I'm still wondering is if I post what's being offered in Spellbinding sales, would people have a look through and just be like, yeah, that seems like that would be, with what's included, that price point seems like it, like I would be willing to pay for that, or that seems really expensive, or that seems like you're not valuing yourself. Like having that feedback would be really helpful.
Yeah.
If people would be up to it.
Yeah.
Can I also share something that may not be helpful, but it came to mind? So yeah, if you're willing.
If you're open to
yeah, when your cat was playing with the mantra sheets, what came to my mind was like, oh, is that your cat's interesting? Hey, maybe if you have some sort of mantra, meditation, or prayer about this, at least a starting number to explore with will pop up. So that's sort of what I felt in my body when you first even said that, because it was right around the conversation time when it shifted to start talking about numbers themselves. So maybe Kitty was just like, hey, this could also at least anchor in the feeling of holding that space.
It's so true. Yeah, because those mantra sheets are actually underneath my altar as well. And that's a really good point, because usually when I make any decisions about what I'm offering, I usually drop in and meditate or something. And that's actually where the numbers always come from. I never just like think them into being. It often comes from that space, and I haven't done that yet. So yeah, I just need to do that.
homework for Megan. to drop into that space, do that, and then if you still feel like you need to post and get our feedback on the pricing and value, then by all means do that.
Okay, yeah, perfect. That might just be the final like cementing in my being of like, yes, this is valuable. Cool. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I feel complete.
Yay. Okay, so we got Kelly or Kelsey. Okay. Kelly?
Sure, I would love to go, please. Thank you so much. So when I launched my client prescription feng shui shift course in Bagua, I was just looking at it and it looks like it's maybe not working, so I'm gonna have to test it, the email sequence. Maybe it's working. Toby's gonna tell me, she's the person who signed up. But either way, very exciting that I put it out there. I still need to do the launch. I've been feeling tired, but I was feeling definitely some pressure and some desperation, but I felt more excited about getting it out there than holding it onto it as a secret. So, because it's evergreen, it's not a live program. And now I can focus my energy on creating a marketing plan that feels fun instead of obligatory. So that was a bunch of things, but win launch. Another win is I got a new client yesterday. She finally signed up for logo. She's my first. It's also the client prescription. I did an astro branding tier and then an ideal client energy reading. So that's my new like introductory offer. And she also signed up for a logo. So now I need to come up with official like automated process for my design people and do the terms of like, what is it? Terms and conditions and the processes and how you work with me and what to expect and this and that. But since I received the money and the invitation, I feel like I have some energy to do that legwork. So those are some shifts. Those some wins and some shifts. Another shift is what we briefly mentioned earlier. Some mom hoarding wounding came up again. I did yoga with my friend Brinley, and she had us do chest openers and some warrior poses, and it was for creating a vision and like using yoga to envision the type of future you want kind of. And so she talked about like supporting each other. When my mom passed away, I'd stopped talking to her about 6 months before because she wouldn't give me any furniture. She had like 4 hoards and a garage, and it just felt like she always chose the stuff over me. But now, since I've watched all 10 seasons of Hoarders, and I've had like 5 years of therapy, and I've been doing lots of work since then. That was all back in 2007. I can like acknowledge her mental illness a lot better than I used to, and emotionally detach. Also with human design specifically, like she was a 5/1 emotional manifester and I'm not. Like our charts are totally opposites, and so I recognize how much I was amplifying her energetic cycles and her anger specifically because she was not in alignment and she did not inform. So that's helped also detach a lot of the emotional, sensitivity around some of the past experiences. So I think that emotional detachment is good and healthy and a nice shift win. And then support. So for launching, I'm going to say 2 things. One thing I don't really need to talk about other than I'm just going to say it. It's really hard for me to imagine how to make $10,000 a month. Like obviously the offers I have right now don't make that amount. And so I've been trying to like Excel it out and figure out what I would need to do and what I would need to sell and who I would need to be to make that much money every month. And it's super hard to envision and see that future. So long-term progress. But what I really want support on is with my launch strategy. Since it's 3 shifts, 3 wins, 3 objections, I'm just having a hard time deciding what's the biggest objection. And I know it's based on my clients primarily. And I asked in my group, and Alexis said that implementation is always her biggest challenge, and Carlos said time. But I'll tell you my other ones, and maybe if you guys have any opinions, this is for people who are children of hoarders. So whether you are one yourself or if you know people who have a tendency to minimize the scope of their problems and, like ignore clutter, put on blinders to clutter and just kind of like disassociate from what's happening in the space around you. Because that's often what happens to children of hoarders. And so my objections that I have included are minimization, avoidance of conflict, which I think teaching people about conflict and how to face things might be really helpful. becoming a target for abuse, because sometimes the hoarder is abusive, and so you get used to not putting your needs out there or whatever for fear of being targeted, or like retribution. So some people just don't do stuff, and they get, in the habit of not doing that. Holding on to the past and not feeling ready to like make change and just feeling comfortable. And then disassociation. I don't know if I mentioned that, but that's like not being grounded in your space. And it is like the cleaning blinders. And then time implementation. My last one is having a fixed versus an open mindset. I don't know if I really want to go there, because it's like if you have a fixed mindset, then that's the end of it. You can't really like force someone to have an open mindset. They have to choose to want to do that themselves. So like I could talk about it in the sense that I need people to have an open mindset in terms of the expectations for what I need for them to succeed. But yeah, those are it. Those are my thoughts. In terms of, I would love your feedback, Lori. The only other things I wanted to say are that like I know how to address most of these things, specifically like talking about the Pomodoro method, which is breaking things up into chunks. The longer you put things off, the more time it takes for it to get done. And then doing one thing at a time. And then also just like offering solutions for how to address some of these things. So yeah, I would love your guys' thoughts, please.
Yeah, so you might have like sort of addressed it at the end, but something that I know was my biggest roadblock for starting the work before I worked with you, and then now I can notice that sometimes those thoughts come right back up when the disassociation starts, but it's how to really approach the energy. So like what's the on-ramp to taking that first action when there's more things that are quote unquote more pressing. So like I have to get this thing in for work right now, or like I have to feed my family, right? Like, so all the things that like, wow, yes, they do have time constraints, but those can really be those beliefs that come up every day and change. So then that way that first action is never taken. So that probably fits between a lot of what you said, but for me personally, that was always, the barrier of like, how do you even decide what the first action is? How do you even get to the point of taking that first action?
Well, thank you so much. That's definitely helpful.
You kind of get stuck in that indecision loop.
Which I can definitely relate to, especially if I'm like hungry, which Kelsey, this kind of is like what you've been talking about lately, like how you need to nourish yourself in order to like have the energy to make decisions. Because if you don't have the energy, the calories to, or also if you don't know your authority, I feel like with human design, then it can be really hard to make healthy decisions, especially if when you were raised, healthy decisions are something that you were like punished for or neglected or for whatever. So thank you.
Yeah, I think you're on the right track with what you're posting on social media about like open centers and conditioning and that, like that all ties back to this, right? And how it shows up physically in our spaces.
I hope so. Thank you so much. I did get an invitation to do the Mint Passage, kind of. I don't know if I'm going to be ready to do that. That's what I'm slowly trying to lead people up to, because it's all about awareness and meditation, inspiration, and dream work. But I just need to make sure that I focus on connecting the dots and like making sure that I tier people in and promote things. Like Megan, I'll like raise a price or make something and then just like focus on something else and like, okay, time to go like do another back end content building project instead of like putting myself out there. Lori told me that I connect well in person. So now I'm like, I have to do lives, which is, just something I'm working through. I never show up in person in public. I'll do it privately, like in little groups and stuff, but it definitely makes me feel nervous doing it publicly.
What's
But
your environment?
the kitchen.
Can you record in the kitchen?
Yeah, but it's not very attractive. Since my kitchen is a wet kitchen, I try to stay, like in my office is good because it's the middle of where everything's happening in terms of work. In my living room, it's a lot more green and lush with lots of plants. So sometimes I'll do it in there, but I definitely tend to overthink about like where I'm recording, which I don't know why, because this is fine. Maybe it's just this like backdrop. But yeah, that's where I'm at.
Okay.
Yeah, Anna, the live stuff, it's not even, I don't know. My problem is that I just overthink everything. Like I look at myself and I start disassociating from what I'm talking about because I get so focused on myself and like my flaws and everything I hate about myself. And it's really hard to like not look at myself or whatever. That's my biggest struggle, but I'm better than I used to be.
Have you tried like putting a Post-it or something over top of the screen so that, because you're not supposed to look at yourself while you're recording, you're supposed to be looking at
I
camera,
like
right?
do this. I'm like looking at
Yeah,
myself.
and then you can't look at yourself.
I just need to practice more and get over it, I guess.
Yeah, and you can practice and not post it. You can practice just talking to yourself, but to the camera.
That does help.
And just
If I do it too many times, then I really start to spin out. But also sometimes I think I just need the gap. I need like to record it and then wait a day. I can't do a live that way, but it's okay. If I do some test recordings first, I can like work up.
I think there's an app, I'd like to say it's called Switcher. I haven't looked into it too much, where you can post a pre-recorded video, but it runs live. So it's not like a watch party. Facebook sees it as live. It's not actually live, but then you're sitting there watching it anyway at the same time, so you can interact with in the chat.
That sounds horrible. I definitely don't want to watch myself, but
Okay, just pre-record it.
Kelly, what is your cognition?
My cognition is touch.
Okay. Because something that's coming up for me, like, you know this, I'm on my taste kick, but I was thinking about when you did your first YouTube videos, and I believe you had a cup of wine or tea. There's something that you like had, but
Touching
I
things.
was thinking of that in connection to your kitchen environment, but like, I wonder if there's some room to explore the like, how can you touch people through the sort of like, if you have any sentiments around kitchens or like that type of like nourishing, I don't know. I don't want to put describe it, but like,
so I can sit there and pet it.
yeah, just something so then that way you're also modeling, because it's not just how you experience energy, but like I've really had a lot of shifts lately with just then also thinking of, for me, like what taste do I want people to have and not have to put out, how do you want people to be touched afterwards, and then what environment for that live can help you do that. Just as something to also cringe over, because if it's a no, it's a no, but that vision of you and the wine came to me as like, yeah, she's a badass, she's drinking her wine.
Maybe I'll go buy some wine and that will help me out. Thanks so much. It's a good idea.
Feel free to go live in the group with something. Just
Okay.
You can do that too, just if you need to or want to start getting comfortable.
Practice.
Yeah, exactly. Invitation to go live in the group with.
That sounds like also horrible, but something that I should practice doing. Like it's a type of horrible that I'm resisting because it's good for me. Okay, thank you. That's good.
You feel complete?
Yeah, thanks.
Cool. You're welcome. Okay, we got Kelsey's next. Lori, did you want support today, or are you just here? Lori, okay, so we'll get Kelsey to go, and then Lori, and then Anna. Have you decided yet? No?
1 second here. Ugh, I'm outside.
Nice.
Yes, there.
Woo, sunshine.
Yeah. Both dogs just wanted to go outside, so I was like, all right, let's do it. Okay, so
Support.
yeah, wins. Lots of stuff has been feeling like a win lately. Interestingly enough, and I find that my wins are always attached to my shifts. It's like a shift. I think Kelly even said a shift is a win, right? But yeah. The way that sessions have been going, and also the way that I've been coming into my power, is a really big win. And the way that things are starting to align in terms of what I cognitively know versus what my frequency is matching up with, like in terms of the boundary conversation that I put into the group last night. Like there's still that a little bit of a rift there, because I know, like, stick to your boundaries, right? That's a service to myself and my business, but also my clients, to do that, right? And I know that cognitively, but then, like, for the longest time, so many things would be coming up around, like, well, then you're not being accessible, or you're, you know, almost like holding it just above their head, like, well, you can't have this unless you have all this money, you know what I mean? Like, my brain was telling me that that's what you're doing, like, you're being a complete dirtbag here. Versus the part of me that knows that that's not true. So it's just interesting how all these pieces are starting to come together, and how it's a really big thing for me to be reaching a point where I could just let someone like this go and almost feel ready to do it. Whereas before, I had so many conversations with myself about it, and outside of myself as well, with other people, that, like, about disconnecting with this particular client. And for sure it was a no before. It wasn't just a fear thing, because I did let her go for a while. And yeah, so that's a whole nother story of its own. But yeah, just coming into that is a really big win. And just how sessions have been going, and like with these new people who are coming in, and like even the complimentary things that I've been doing, like the mediumship ones, it's like, holy cow, this is the energy that I want to create. These are the people, these are the energies I want to work with. And of course my battery's on low now.
Of course.
But yeah, that's such a win. It feels so good.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yes. And so that's a shift as well, for sure. Let me see if there's any other shifts. Another shift is that I'm getting a little bit better at accepting money without feeling guilt. That was a really big, deep thing for a long time, is that I thought I didn't think, again, it was that I knew cognitively otherwise, but it felt like, accepting money from somebody was taking away from them. And it was like me being greedy. Like, even if it was like $22, I'd be like, oh no. Like, but yeah, it's feeling really good to be accepting money and feeling supported by that. Even though I'm nowhere where I'm close to, well, I don't even want to say close, because on an energetic level, I think I'm pretty close. But like in a numbers level, I'm not really right where I want to be just yet. But it's feeling a lot better. Yeah, so these are some important shifts to me.
Yes, feeling good about money. That's because then you can invite money. Cool.
Yes. And then yeah, for support, I wanted to kind of extend the conversation that with this client that I posted in Spellbinding Sales about last night, just kind of like finally clear some stuff and clear some thoughts, and just, yeah, really sort of finalize that new foundation that I'm building. And there was another thing that came up too that I wanted to kind of explore. And so I'll say that in a little bit, just around what I'm feeling pulled to do in my business. I think it's a Manny-gen thing a little bit, in the sense that it's like, oh, piece of candy. Oh, piece of candy. So I have to be careful to like keep my focus on where I'm stepping next. But this other piece is like an intuition that I want to follow. I am just going to go off camera here for a second, because my other pupper needs a little bit of help. Seems to be happening as soon as I'm on a call. But yeah, hang on. I'm going to navigate here. Oops. and my phone needs to be plugged in as well. Yeah, so
Yeah, with your current client.
yeah. So for her, so there is a really big part of me, and here's where I feel torn, is I feel like it's really a big value of mine to make things that people need within reach, right? So I love how Spellbinding Sales teaches us to do like pathways and like do the tiers and stuff like that, rather than just being like high ticket all the way. So anyway, it's always important to me to be within reach. So it's interesting to me when people kind of complain about price, because it brings up so much stuff in me. Let's see if I can focus my thoughts here. Because there's a part of me that's like, oh no, like this person can't afford and they need this support. Because I've benefited before from being not able to afford a lot from lower ticket prices, and I've really appreciated that. So it's a value of mine to actually create that for other people as well. Yeah. Hey, come on, puppy. There you go, puppy. Yeah. There she goes. Come on, let's go.
So you're worried about kind of leaving her in the lurch for support as well?
No, not anymore.
Okay. That's fine.
It's lingering though. It definitely was like that before. And it's lingering a little bit. I just want to like finally clear those thoughts. And
I was you've said clear a few times. I'm wondering if that's exactly what you need to do, is energetically clear her out of all of your system, right?
Yeah.
And then maybe those feelings will clear with that.
Yeah. Sorry guys, I just made a mistake here. My other dog got out.
Oh no.
And she's the one who runs away. She's the one who can't get out. So I am not focused at all. Yeah. Do you mind giving me a minute here?
Sure.
Thanks so much.
No problem. Yeah, Shelby, get the puppy energy.
Or not even a minute. I have no idea when I'm going to get back. Sorry, guys. This is just a shitty situation.
Do you want to put this on hold and I can go to Lori while you're...
For sure. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah? Okay.
Okay.
We'll do that.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Hey, Lori.
Hello. As someone who knows the fear of will my dog return, I'm gonna take a big breath on that, because that's like, in a list of fears, that's the one that I can't, intellectualize myself to be calm about. So yes, acknowledging that. So wins. It's so funny. I know that there's a lot for the month, but like last week it's just in my mind. So I will like broadly frame the month as like it's been a winning month. July was really a month of like more being and less doing, and letting that just be how things are. I guess they call that projectorness, which is like, what? Yeah. And so but also realizing that there was a lack of the feelings of like, oh, why am I not doing anything? So like just it becoming something tangible that could just be a norm. And so last week in particular, I received 6 invitations, and all of them were from one-to-one conversations that were just sort of happening already. Or like, what's that? The energetic invitation was there. So then I was open to receiving a physical invitation once we were like having those meetings. So that feels like a big win to be able to hold space for both like being, but then in being there's moments that then invitations come in, and so that just feels like a win to be able to be just like aware that that's what's happening simultaneously. And so then that essentially, oh, I froze. Okay, no, I'm not frozen anymore. So essentially that is the shift in many ways. So shifting into like a sense of what flow is, and when this week in particular, well, the end of last week, my paycheck boss decided to give me 4 grant deadlines all due this week, which is, I won't even put words because I can't rationalize irrationality. But so yeah, a whole bunch of shit. So when I realized that, yeah, that I think it was like tire spikes were thrown out, I was able to like identify and really feel my bitterness in the moment and let it be released. And then also felt a slide back into like flow and just having to acknowledge, okay, the week that I thought I was going to have this week is not the week that it's going to happen. And so there is going to be a lot of doing, but how can I approach the doing with a sense of being? And so like that's a internal conversation that's happening a lot, and really like balancing muggle and magic. But then through that, there was this big revelation, and I forgot to write it down, but I'm glad it came back up in my mind, of a wind shift is that I realized that while I'm saying allowed, because I'm realizing now the energy was there, I never allowed the expression of the energy of binge and purging to go through food itself, but that my procrastination or that like lack of wanting to do, I mean, it mostly comes through misalignment and like people giving me work that I shouldn't be doing and all that, but like that energy of trying to control something comes in through that idea of like binging, so keeping all my work till the end, being stressed out and doing it all then, so that way I have a reason to be bitter and like I can justify that. And then a huge phase of purging in the sense of like not wanting to do any fucking thing at all until the next overwhelm cycle comes, and then binge it and be like, why? And so the fact that my boss does do things often of like, here are 4 deadlines within 1 week, like since that constantly was happening, I just fueled that practice. And so that's something that I'm noticing, and that ties into the support part of like how to step into the season of flow, but also being rooted in like the doing phase and having there be intentional doing. And I really have also found the language and I feel it resonating in my body of, I don't need to give out or do the whole menu at once. What's each bite? What's each entree? Like, you know, using my taste cognition of like feeling into that. So I'm in this season of really wanting, just that guidance or support of how to honor that that's now like a verbiage or an energy I can embody of like, I know Kelly mentioned the Pomodoro method, but like having that be something that like I really remember that like I can do 30 minutes here or a bite here, or like breaking it up. And I know I've used like the sandwiching approach that Kristen had said. And so that I feel like I have a hold of doing on like a weekly sense, but like larger into like larger projects, launches, those types of things of like saving the time, being intentional of creating the space where I can do that bite by bite instead of going into that binge purge cycle of doing everything all at the last minute. And so the last part of like that support, which is sort of like connected to the wins, is now I'm also seeing like a need to have like how can I really make public my services in the most easeful way. So since people are, when we're interacting, asking about things, whether that's just having a few landing pages or even having somewhere like on my Instagram that says I do anything, because right now it still doesn't say like what I do. So it really does then limit it to the fact that I have to be interacting with someone one-on-one for them to know. But like, so it's kind of related because August is my Nightingale month. So it is about sharing at that song, and Kelly helped me realize I was putting pressure on myself that I had to get like all of Yay out in August, like because it's the month, but really it's like, how can I have that on ramp of like August be the month that I really am vocalizing, here's what I do, here's how you can relate. And then have like the end of the month be like an initial, yay, Kelsey said she got her. And so, like I can start unfolding or releasing like the first workshop to like those bites again, but it doesn't have to all be out at once. Cause then that would like make me have to go back into binge purge energy of like, I gotta cram all this at once and then not have the energy to do shit after. I felt like that was a lot of words. Those are all the things.
Okay. Well, first off, I just pulled up your chart to have a quick look because I was like, the way you're sounding, you probably have gate 5 or gate 15 or the channel. So you do have gate 5 as your unconscious earth. So that's the gate of patterns. So it's really, you're going to have, your life isn't going to be so cyclical. It's more pattern. So the way I like to think of it is like, if this, then that. So if this happens, then that. It feels not so structured, but that there is something there to trigger the things to happen so that you can do the doing and not get into that cycle of, yeah. And I like how you put the binge and purge in reference to work, because I think that's something that you could speak to in the greater social media, because I think a lot of people fall into that and don't recognize that as unhealthy.
I'm just writing that down. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and so even when you shared out with the gate 5, with that too, that and like your phrasing of like the if then that really helps something click too, because it's funny, but it's not funny because it's so intentional. Like everything we do in Servat is the things we do for ourselves, really. And especially being like a 3-5, I test everything on myself before I make my sister friend skinny pics. But yeah, so one of the tools that I'm providing is if so, what else? So like if this is true, what else is true? Like changing that relationship reframe, so that again feels like a really built-in on-ramp to just the topic of what I'm applying that to then can be that energy cycle or that relationship of like, yeah, as a new stimulus is coming up and something that I could be bitter about, like, okay, like applying that particular tool feels helpful. So that way, yeah, there's some intentionality between what comes in and then the pattern that comes from that.
Exactly, yeah. And yeah, being your unconscious earth, that's really going to help ground you, right? And make you feel secure. So
I'm writing that down too, because I don't always know what it means when things are like the earth energy or not, but I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. So then, yeah, it's how can you apply that to your marketing and that? It's like, because then you have these little steps. You don't have to do the last thing. You just have to do this thing and then that, right? Which is, yeah, similar to what Kelly had talked about, breaking into bite-sized pieces, right? If you can really build a pattern around it, then you can use it for anything that you're putting out there.
Okay. Yeah, so that's coming to me as the vision of hopscotch meets breadcrumbs, where having that like what flavors each breadcrumb or like that taste out, and like which sequence may be a place to explore for whichever ramp it is, but having it almost like the hopscotch of like, oh, if this last part doesn't really feel all right, notice what shift ends up feeling better. So then that's almost like the part where you have like the 2 to like reset. Yeah, I'm so glad.
And then you're still, you're making progress.
Mm-hmm.
You're not hitting that wall and letting everything build up.
Yeah, and really that 3-5 energy for me feels like, and Kelly's given me the language of feeling into like the whale energy or like the record keeper, and with my like Virgo son of like amassing that library of work and services, and so having that be the hopscotch breadcrumb trail of like being able to see in relation to those pivots, those turns, those things is really helpful as well to like, yeah, all the things.
Yes.
See, and yet here I am in the pattern of like writing while talking. It's recording. I know it's recorded. I just yeah, and so I did that brought up one question too of, and so Kelsey mentioned it earlier, and I've heard a few managers mention it, like the like, oh, candy or like that. I don't know if it's a mental projector thing or just a me, like I totally resonate with like as new things come in of like that. I think it's because I'm so open. Once something new comes in, there's the energy of the recency of it, of like the immediate energy that lingers of just getting the invitation, that it can be it feels like the most accessible thing to do is to like focus on that. And that has been, now I'm seeing back of like the hopscotch, looking back like, oh, that's where I've detoured a lot of times because I didn't realize that I was riding that wave of the energy that was there in that moment, and then not being able to yes and that, and like leverage that. Yes, that's the energy available, but that does, like, how does that connect to the larger thing I'm trying to do, so that way that focus can shift but the energy stays there. Yeah, that just came up.
Yeah, because with that head definition, like, you are wired to be inspired all the friggin' time. All that inspiration isn't necessarily for you. It's for you to send out for us that are open to receive. So yeah.
That was so beautiful, Pam. I'm gonna just replay the thing and not feel the pressure to write that in the moment. But that really is feeling in my body too, as like before I knew anything about human design, I always was, my boss didn't like it, but whenever they'd be like, what's wrong with you? So I would be like, first off, that's not the question you asked. But anyways, my response would be like, I want to be able to like give suggestions on the work to do, and I don't want to do the fucking work. Like, I want no parts of the follow-up. And so that's also sometimes something I'm reframing, because there are things I do enjoy doing. So it's not so much of like finishing out a project or finishing a launch. Like, that doesn't have to fall in, because I was getting into this binary thinking of like carrying out anything is something I don't have access to energetically. But it really, I think getting back to the bites helps that, because it's like, I have energy to do 30 minutes here. Well, I want to do this next 45 minutes because that's really exciting. You know, and I think that will give me the energetic resonance of what it can feel like to get past crumb 3 or 4. And that then it does, yeah. Because there are tons of things I really would probably love to finish. I just haven't had the relationship of realizing that can be an option, and that I can totally say hell no to the things I don't want to finish. And also part of like the 3-5ness is like, we're not meant to finish a lot of things. So yeah, all of those words.
Back to the grant writing, is there any boundary, since this keeps coming up, is there any boundary that you need to set so that you're not getting 4 applications?
Set several. I'm in this interesting transition point where I'm technically, like, one of the invitations I got people was like to not work there anymore in the exact sense. And so what I need clarity to set the boundaries, like when that starts. I believe it's going to be definitely by September, but essentially instead of them trying to like herd cats, me being cats, of like having set times of doing things, I'm like, that's just not how I work. As you can tell, no, it's just not, especially with Muggle shit. I would be given the task in a project sense of like, okay, if it's a grant, I know there's a deadline, cool, but like then I could have that choice, and it's not about the number of hours I work. So if I can get it done in 20 hours, great, I'm done that. But then I don't have to do more. I did say Muggle shit, and but yeah, so the boundaries I've tried to set, and sometimes I work or don't, is like, once I'm at the point of doing the work that I can do, that's it. But they're going through a strategic plan, and my boss's lack of confidence and fears come up of like, we have to do this right now, and like really demeaning sense of like, you don't understand how big this is. It's like, I've been working for you for 7 years. I know the fact that you think everything is a fire, and I also get that some things are, but like, I know that. I'm just ranting. This isn't therapy. But yeah, I set boundaries, and they're often not respected, but I also have set a personal boundary of knowing that like, I would really be tickled if I don't work there at all by the new year. But I also appreciate this phase of like waning out, because I never knew what the on-ramp to leaving was, because it was my only income. But since last month I made $133 in my business. Again, there's like a breadcrumb. I didn't ever want to have to like shift to then put pressure on my business to suddenly be something that's providing like sustaining like income yet. But it definitely feels like now that that shift is happening, but I'm definitely setting what feels like a personal boundary of like, even one, entertaining the fact that by the new year there could be something else. That felt really expansive. But then also, again, balancing that flow and the invitations of like following up with those invitations, that way I really can be out of there by the new year. If that addressed your point. I don't know. It was helpful for me to say it out. So.
Well, I enjoyed listening to it. Homework is going to be like, at what point do you say no to the 4 applications?
Yeah. Well, it was supposed to be 6, and I was like, the 2 there, and I was like, they were for $1,000. You are not, no, like the return of that for adding two other, no. So there was, I
Turning
hadn't looked at it that
6
way, but
into
thank
4,
you.
I think is,
Yeah,
should
but
be a
thank you for
win.
giving me that reframe to acknowledge, like, oh, that was setting a boundary. At the time, it was like, what option do I have where I don't cuss them out and lose my job? And that was the what I had access to at that moment was like, I can do these, because I knew I didn't have a choice in the sense of they would have been like, yeah, you have to, you don't get paid. But the other two I could skirt. So thanks for, letting me see that as a boundary being set.
Cool. Anybody else have any comments or reflections for Lori? Invitations?
I'm excited for you to focus on, you know, the one things at a time. I think that if you give yourself the grace of seeing if your tastes are things you want to give, like, continue to put energy into, because isn't that the whole 3-5 thing? It's like you have to taste it over and over and experience a taste a bunch of different ways to decide how much energy is still there. And that's like your authority also is like soundboarding through how you experienced those tastes. So I think the more you focus on your like big vision and your mission and connecting that with what you're excited about in the moment, like the more cohesive your message comes across, if that makes sense.
It does, and I appreciate that, because that is, if I was adding another thing, now that I'm really like the support point, it's like, because the nature of improvising is like really applying it to whatever the thing is, that there has been that challenge of reducing it in a way of being like a cohesive message at times. So even you sharing that out is like, lets me acknowledge that that is still something that I have coming up almost in the form of self-doubt a bit of like, can I do that? But I'm going to reframe it as like something to explore how that comes about. So thank you, Kelly.
Isn't that part of your design too, the doubt or the confusion?
Oh yeah, my incarnation cross has the channel of that. Yeah, all of the,
so that's like an indicator you're on the right path, kind of.
Yeah, it's the patience, and that's, I'm glad you brought that up too, because that connects to like what flow feels like now, as it is knowing that like at some point when I least expect it, the clarity comes. And so now in the moments, I think that also, oh shit, yeah, I'm feeling that, is that the moments that I've had of really being able to be, it's because I'm not being while also being like, hey, there's this other thing, and like trying to force the clarity.
Wow.
But yeah, it has literally made the room to be like, Eureka! And like, it's always at random ass times where I'm like driving, I'm like, first mama. Like the one time I drove past the store I was supposed to go to, I didn't even notice it for like 5 miles because I was just like getting that consciousness out. But yeah, I appreciate
including your win, allowing yourself to be a projector, because it sounds like you're doing a great job.
I know. I don't know why I saved this. I try to write my wins in this little thing, and I was like, I need the whole page. But that's an invitation for myself to celebrate and really write out all the wins. So being a projector. Woo-hoo. And to whoever sent comments, thank you. I will be looking at them. I just, squirrel brain, I can't do that while trying to exist.
Do you feel complete?
I feel excited and really just like, and I think that translates as complete. Thanks. I'm gonna stew and everything that just happened.
Yay. Cool.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hey, Kelsey, are you in a better place?
So much better. Yes.
Yay.
In every way. Okay. Turn my camera on for a second here. Thank you so much for being patient with my panic moment there.
Yeah.
I feel like that was so rude of me to be like, hang on.
No.
Okay, I'm not coming back. She's like, she will rip out into like traffic. She'll run away from me like a kid who doesn't want to go home from the park. And it's like, oh, it's hell.
Heart attack.
Heart attack indeed. I'm like, oh my God, disaster. And our routine's been off today because Sadie's been having some really rough nights the last couple of nights. So I let her sleep in today. But then when it was time for the call, she's like, I'm up. I'm ready to do our thing, Mom. So yeah, she needed a little bit of help. But yeah, so I was way distracted right when I didn't expect to be. But yeah, thank you so much for.
No problem. So Yeah, you were talking, or we were talking about the client that you're in the process of possibly releasing.
Yes. Okay. So I guess like I said, I just kind of wanted to talk through a few things because I expand via interaction and just igniting conversations and stuff. So some thoughts on my mind. I'm actually even thinking of maybe not quite this, but something along the lines of this, like if she is kind of playing one of those games. And again, I'm not a fan of games or manipulation, but I do know this to be a thing that I help to support her with as well. So it's something I also am very cognitive not to, shame her or shun her for it. Because it's a thing, it's real wounding. She's just pulling some shit from it sometimes, and I have to almost like, well, it is like coaching. I was thinking like sports coaching and stuff like that, where they test their coach. But yeah, same thing. So it's been a weird balance. Like I recognize her shenanigans, I recognize her antics, and I don't entertain them. And I gently call her out on them and say, this is what's coming up here. Are you realizing this is what's going on? And yeah, so I'm almost thinking at this point, feeling ready to let her go. If she decides to come back, today or tomorrow and be like, oh, okay, well, fine. We'll do it in September then. I almost want to tell her that spot's not open anymore. I'm not a fan of dishonesty. I don't want to go down that road. I almost want to create a situation where I just tell her though, like you missed your chance. Like you can't play like that. You first you booked that time so that nobody else could get in there. And then you told me you didn't want it anymore. So almost for her to like sort of sit with that. You know what I mean? Like almost lay in the bed that she's created. And I'm not really sure where that's coming from inside of me, whether that's coming from an honorable place or whether that's coming from I'm not really sure. Not enabling her codependency. Yes, Kelly. Oh my God. Those are the words for it. Yeah, I'm feeling like I want to do that because I do feel like it's a game, like her being like, almost like she wants to make me worried. She does that a lot. Like, oh no, my business will fail if, this client doesn't sign up this month. And for me to be like, oh no, please. And I never will. And I never have. I don't know why she does that. But I almost want to just show her that, you gave up your spot, dear. First, we reserved it for you in good faith. And then you told me yesterday that you didn't want it anymore. So though nobody has taken that place, I almost just want to tell her, it's not available anymore. It's October with a higher price, or it's not at all. Because when she very first signed up, my price, and this was like 2018, I intended for my prices to be $500 a month. This was going to be in Canadian. And she got the first beginner's promo, which was $333 a month for a set amount of time. And I told her that I would honor this for her, like grandfather it in, with the understanding that, the price is $500 a month. And we will be working towards that. And we never have gotten to that point. Again, that was 2 years ago. I have appreciated the income from her because at one point, $333 was all I had. This was a period of time where I was not eating. I couldn't buy groceries. I couldn't pay my bills. And that $333 was like a meal. You know what I mean? So like, I have very much appreciated it before. It was just, and I was feeling like it would be I'm really going on here, but I just feel like it's important to express this. So thank you for listening. That this 333, I wouldn't consider her as like somebody that I was growing with, but as like a passive income. I enjoy working with her because she's almost like, this is going to be a disrespectful way of saying it, and I don't mean it in this way, but almost like a guinea pig for what I'm learning and stuff like that. It's been really wonderful to be able to test the new things that I'm learning out on her. And it benefits her greatly as well. So it does her no harm at all, but it's sort of that reciprocal thing that I've been appreciating as her role. I'm feeling like that role could come to an end now, and I would be okay with that. Like that's complete. That's the lesson I needed to learn. for her to benefit from and for me to benefit from as I grow into this new direction. And I'm just going to read Lori's comment here. Absolutely, Kelly. She's not entitled to special treatment. Oh, hell no. And Lori, do you energetically feel like a slot is still available for her in September? Even if no one else has signed up for it, does it feel like the spot is even hers? Oh, that's such a good question.
You can that.
If she wants to come in as passive, sure. But I don't feel like absolutely won't reserve it for her. Know what I mean? I don't feel like this is a spot for her. She's like one of my official one-on-one clients. I do feel like just passively. And something about that passiveness does feel really good. It's like an extra $333 a month, sure. And like to work with her, sure. To help her, absolutely. Because she's gained so much from our work together. She really has. But to answer your question, Lori, no, it doesn't feel like officially a spot is open for her. And again, I don't want to lie, but I do want to say, you know, you played with it and you missed your chance. Can't play like that. I want her to have a lesson in this.
Oh, what was I going to say? I kind of floated. Is there, okay, so Lori's, like the way you're looking at it right now is in a one-to-one capacity. So is there room for her in one of the group programs that you have coming up that?
Yes.
Okay. And
oh yeah.
Okay. So I'm wondering, because part of your strategy authority is doing the informing piece. So informing her that her spot, that you don't have a spot for her for one-to-one in September, but you do have these other options for her should she choose to try that. If that's a way of holding to your boundary, letting her go, so you're creating space for those hell yeah clients that that you've been attracting, and also shift her into a different dynamic with you that might be of benefit for her as well, right?
Definitely. And I've been contemplating that a lot. This did come up in, I think it was just over a year ago. And I talked about this in the group a few months back too, where she was doing the complaining about the pricing, and I really stood my ground. And again, that's why I feel like her testing me has been a wonderful lesson for me. It's been like almost training wheels. So as you said, like I'm being really patient. I'm not patient like this for like everybody always. There's not space for people to just fuck around. But for this, it's almost like I needed that just to like ignite and like trigger these switches in me to like, oh no, stand your ground. Oh no, stand your ground, right? And so I did back then. It was like one of maybe, if not the first time I didn't bend for pricing. And it was, I ended up letting her go for a few months back then because I really stood in it. She was like, oh no, I can't afford, when really she wanted to just to have money for other stuff. So I did let her go. And I did tell her at that point, I said, you know, because to sort of quell that worry in me that I'm leaving somebody hanging, is that there are options for her to receive support in other ways. So I had a group program coming up then, and I remember she declined that real quick. She wanted the one-on-one support. She wanted it for super cheap, and I stood my ground there, and I said no. So I did let her go for a while there. She came back on her own, and that felt good as well. So I'm feeling the same thing here now that I have some more like products or services created, like Realign and Shine. I'm like, that's okay. You know, you don't have to commit to one-on-one. You could just buy a Realign and Shine whenever you want a one-on-one. You know what I mean? Like, or you can join one of my group programs, which she will very much benefit from as well. But she likes the one-on-one time. She's fairly private that way. So yeah. Lots of thoughts swirling around this, and it almost seems kind of trivial, but from where I'm at and what I'm breaking through in my personal and business stuff, this seems really important to me.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Mm-hmm. It does. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like part of you stepping into this next level is, yeah. And it's like, it's beyond boundaries, right? It probably comes down to being a left angle cross too. And part of that is the cleaning up of karma. And so like once the lessons or whatever is done with that relationship, then it's just, it can just be let go. There doesn't have to be any story tied to it. It's energy.
Very much so. So is there an eloquent way I can put it to say to her, because I also never feel like, I don't feel animosity towards her. I feel like this has been like a stretch for her, a stretch for me, just like a really cool back and forth learning experience. Though she does test me sometimes. She has tested my patience over the years, I'll tell you that. But yeah, no, I've learned so much from working with somebody like her on different levels, especially starting with the health coaching as well. But yeah, is there a way that I can, be firm and strong in my boundaries without, kind of shaming her, but also letting her know, because I don't want to do it like, nope, doors are closed to you. You know what I mean? Like, you can't afford me. Like, I never want to give off that energy. And that's sometimes why I go on the opposite side of the spectrum and sort of like bend for people instead. But, and you ladies are oftentimes really wonderful with wording. So just kind of like let her know, hey, the opportunities have passed. I don't feel in integrity to play around with this anymore. Blah, blah, blah. Any ideas? There's some comments coming up. Hang on.
I have some thoughts, but if somebody else has something to share.
Okay. Yeah. And then Kelly is seconding what you're saying, Pam, is I can't offer this, but I can offer this. So you're setting a solid boundary, but you're still giving space for her to shift into another support format. Absolutely. Yeah. Yep.
Deborah?
Yeah, I'm seeing this like a breakup because it kind of is. So I am a writer, so I guess the way I would word it is just that, it sounds like your time together has come to an end. And so kind of like what other people are saying, like, here's some other on-ramps you can go on to if you still even want to work with her at all. But like, hey, it looks like our time has come to an end. It was great working with you. I don't see that this is mutually beneficial anymore at this time in this capacity, if you want to use that. So here are some options. If you want to refer her out to someone else who has space for that, that's great too. That might help, but you can just be like, this is just not working out. Well, not to just say it like that, but that's the way I would see it, is like putting an end to this time, that the way that you're working together like this. If you still want to work with her in a group capacity, that's up to you. If you don't, you could just be like, yeah, thank you so much for your time, and I appreciate how you've helped me grow as a practitioner, and I hope that you've benefited from my services. Here are some other options that I think would be really great for you and your next steps of your journey. I really wish you well. Thank you so much. Bye. But yeah, like I think putting a boundary on at least how you're working together like this is super important. How you want to give her her benediction or send her on her way, I can leave that up to you, but you have agency and autonomy. You don't have to just take in anyone. Like, that's the cool thing about running your business. You're not running a charity, and even then you could still have like entry points and boundaries and filters. So yeah, hope that helps.
Ooh, entry points, boundaries, and filters. Ooh. Yeah, that's a powerful trio. Sometimes words, just like particular terms for things, just click for me. That's awesome. I want to write those down later. Thank you so much, Deborah. And yeah, thanks, Kelly. She's got entry points, boundaries, and filters. Yes. Oh my God. Because it's so true. I can feel that. And it's like they were sort of like starting to form a while ago, but they weren't clear. And now they're finally starting to solidify. And it's starting to get clear. Because before with her, I didn't mind this at all, because again, this was learning and stretching for me. And also it was an income I really appreciated at the time and still do. I mean, I always appreciate. and hold in reverence any money people pay me for my services, even if it's like $1. Yeah. And I also feel like I'm like that conversation that I had with her just over a year ago is kind of coming up to be more powerfully anchored in about, you know, here are your other options here. Yeah, so many thoughts about this. So many things coming together right now. I really like it.
Can I just say one other thing?
Yeah.
About you learning stuff. So I guess being a double Capricorn, like I actually like learning from other people's experiences. I don't necessarily like learning stuff on the job, especially stuff like this. So I'm glad that you're reframing it as a learning experience, but I'm just hoping that the next clients you have, it's not this. It's not, doesn't look like this. I hope this is like your lesson. It's done. And you don't have to, for me, like learning experiences, it's hard to see that in the moment. Like it's usually like hindsight, like, oh, okay, like that's what I learned. So I guess my concern is that I mean, it could be spiritual bypassing, like, oh, I'm just learning this, but you're just actually being treated like crap. So I don't want you to be treated like crap by your clients and to have that reframed as a learning experience. I just want you to be treated well. And I'm glad that you learned this, but I just hope in the future with client relations that it's not, I don't want this lesson for you anymore. I think, yeah, so it's hard because I'm like, I think you're still in the middle and you're about to disengage, but I just don't want you to default to, oh, I'm just learning, and like, well, yeah, but also like your time is precious and valuable and worth money, and all this like holding space, actually that's energy being expended, not just you getting a lesson out of it. Like that's valuable. Like holding space for people, you can get paid to do that. So that's what I guess I would strongly encourage you. Just I don't want, and of course we just kind of met, but I just kept hearing that. So it's just like I just want to make sure that that isn't something that you're defaulting to if you're going through hard stuff. Sometimes stuff is just hard and it sucks, and you don't have to like bright sided or find a silver lining that you need to learn something from it. It just needs to be like, I need to get out of this as soon as possible so I can have space for better things that are more supportive for me.
Yes, awesome. Thank you, Deborah. Of all the things I'm unsure of with myself, I'm 100% sure that it's not spiritual bypassing. I felt so much into this for really, really deeply. And I'm not one to bright side things. Like when things are dark and shitty, we need to be with the dark and shitty and call it for what it is. So I'm not like, you know, I don't feel like I'm being abused and being like, because I've been there before and I've grown from that, like coming from being raised into an abusive world. So yeah, I feel really confident about that, but also I absolutely 100% feel that this is the point where I draw the line. Like it's enough, like it's finished now. And this is where I feel like there was a word that you used that I want to reuse and I can't find it now. That's okay. Where I let new energies in, because it's already happening. Like the new people that I've been intermingling with and having sessions with, and people who are interested in my services are such a different energy than hers. And so it's just like a really big shift is happening. I am absolutely not about to allow this type of thing in again, but right now I'm at this, I don't know if vulnerable is the word, but like this growth stage that I'm just about to push past a thing and like solidify and crystallize a new energy. I feel like I'm not being very clear here, but I feel like it's clear inside of me. And you're right, Deborah, like I don't need this energy. My time is precious. My energy is precious. And this is a lesson from a few years back where I absolutely didn't believe that at all. And that came from a very low self-worth place. So you're speaking to a lot of a lot of places that I've been, for sure. And you're really, you're really nailing that. But yeah, no, I'm confident that this is not one of those times at all, which feels good.
Yeah. I want to give you homework. It feels like it's really important for you, like everything that you have expressed about like being grateful for the time that you've had with her and for the experiences that you've had, but also that it's time to close it. It feels like if you want to create a ritual around it or something, just to sit in that space and feel all the things, let them like come and go as part of clearing, with the final intent of clearing all that, embodying all those lessons on every level possible, and then having that conversation with her from a very compassionate place, that it's like, I'm not doing you any favors by holding on to you. I'm not doing myself any favors by holding on to you. Because by letting her go, that's creating space in her life as well, right? To bring in whatever her next thing is, whether it is in one of your programs or something else, right?
Yeah, I like the way you said that. And just like as you were saying, like clear on all levels, I'm feeling all of that.
Yeah.
And as draining as this person sounds, to me, from where I was with like the wounding that I was healing with my self-worth and the things I was, the consciousness I was awakening around that, it wasn't draining for me at the time. You know what I mean? It didn't feel like an energy depletion at all. It almost like just a learning curve. It just felt like that. But it does feel now like it's becoming draining, and I'm noticing that point. I'm like, oh shit, like, okay, breaking point. And then this is where I crave so much to just tell her, you know, like, okay, you made your decision. You can't pay the $500. There's no way, she said, no way she can afford that, the $500 a month, and that she gave up her spot in September. So
yeah, and maybe that's part of the conversation, is that you're honoring her words in that she said she can't afford it, and you're not going to put her in that position. You've spent enough energy negotiating prices in the past that this one-on-one just isn't the right fit right now. And
oh yeah, that feels good.
Cool.
Yeah, there's like, I can feel a fire lit in me when it's ready to like move to something else, or it's ready to end something, or and like Deborah said, it feels like a breakup, because I felt this fire inside of me when it's time to end a romantic relationship as well, like any other, and friendship relationships as well. So it's interesting how Deborah mentioned that it feels like a breakup, because yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I just feel like this little flame inside of me that's like, ooh, do the thing, push the button, push the button. Okay, that feels good. I'm going to do that. I'll send her a message today. I just felt energy open up doing that. And I haven't felt that up until this point. Like even like thinking of letting her go before, it didn't feel like that. There was something more there. And I'm so very clear about that. But right now it feels like the energy is just outside the door now. Whereas it wasn't before, because I was so unclear. And that's another reason why I will go back and say this, because I want to reestablish that I appreciated her as sort of like a guinea pig, is because I had no fucking idea what I was offering necessarily. I just knew I was in transition and she was benefiting from it. And I'm like, oh, this is awesome. And now that the energy around what I'm doing is solidifying, and I'm calling in and magnetizing these new energies and these new clients, it, like I said, it feels like they're just on the other side of the door, and it's just time to open up that door now and create space for them. Yeah, so that feels good. Wonderful. Okay, and then the one last thing that I wanted to say is that, and I think it was Megan who mentioned this on one of the last calls. She was asking me, because we were working through like the posts for Emotion Phoenix and stuff like that, and how I was trying to like really tap into the message. And I think she asked like, would it be helpful for you to have like a conversation with somebody rather than, just trying to find the message within yourself and then regurgitate it, or, go on a live or do a post? Would it be helpful for you to have like a conversation with somebody? And that clicked so much because that's so true for me. And so the other day I had this click moment that I want to do that with my audience, but I'm not exactly sure how. I want to come up with fun and creative ways to not just go on a live and spew a presentation. So I'm an interactor way more than I'm a presenter. And I know that's also a story, but also I like that story. I like that about myself. I'd rather interact than present. And same with posts and stuff like that. If I'm just putting out a post, it's like really not interacting, which makes sense now that I understand that I need to respond. My energy needs to respond. Yeah. From your creative minds, is there anything that you can think of that I can do to really interact with the audience in my group and on my public page rather than just like putting up, I'll also do posts and lives and stuff like that, but almost like contests or like fun little prizes, or, when I put up Mystic Monday is amazing because people are actually interacting. They're like, oh, I'd like one. And then they're enjoying their message and we're having a whole thing. Or when I post a thing in my group, something like that, they're like, oh, I'd like one. And we're interacting back and forth rather than me just like putting some stuff out there and just seeing how it goes. You know what I mean? So it's just something I've never done before. So I thought maybe you might have some ideas.
I have something
Anybody have
that popped up? Have you thought about just hopping on in a Zoom room in your Facebook group and just maybe doing like a Facebook event invite and inviting them into this, and then just sort of like starting it out however you start out interactive conversations, and then just sort of responding to whatever's coming up, and then, maybe doing a series of these. So then by the end of that, you kind of understand what is going on for them. And then by the end of that, like Zoom room chats, you could tie that into Emotion Phoenix.
Ooh, yes. Yeah. Something about that is really, really lighting up. It's actually very much connected to why I felt drawn to do Revelation, which is a Zoom thing. Cause so when you say go into my group and do a Zoom room, I'm unaware if that's a feature.
So it's a new feature. Sorry.
I'm getting excited.
It's a new feature, but I think the only difference, like, it's just like it's easy for members in your group to access it. So I think I've actually never really used it, but it's still through Zoom, but it's just like people in your Facebook group could go access it from your Facebook group versus them accessing it from like an email or something like that, or a link. They could just access it from your group.
Ooh, that sounds very intriguing. I'll check that out. I was completely unaware of that. So yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah, because like the interactive stuff is where it's at. Yeah. Thank you, Megan. That's awesome. Again, yeah, totally something I didn't even know existed.
You're welcome.
I knew you guys would come through with all kinds of cool ideas. And then you said quizzes. She said something else too. I can't remember what it was.
Challenge.
Yeah, quizzes and challenges, like something where they like win a prize or something.
Laser coaching.
And I don't have, I'm like dying to do this because this is so much fun for me. But like once my business is fully supporting me, I want to have like a little pocket of funds set aside to do like prizes for people so that they can win stuff and I can go on a live and like interact with them that way. That just like kicks up so much fun energy for me. And also I've been dying to do like an online quiz as like a funnel toward my business. Not there yet. I gotta stay in the simple world right now, but yeah, like quiz sounds so good. And yeah, something where they could just win prizes, like fun little prizes, and something really interactive and cool. All right. Yeah, I like those ideas. Thank you so very much.
Awesome. Okay. Do you feel complete?
I do. Thank you, everyone.
Anna, was that a thumbs up? Yes, you want support, or no, you're good?
Yeah, I maybe we'll see.
We'll start and we'll see where it goes. So wins,
Okay.
shifts.
Wins. I didn't have a lot of wins last month. I had surgery mid-month, and the third one of the year, if anyone's keeping track besides me. I recovered from surgery, and I was mid-launch when this happened, and the doctor's like, "Oh, you'll be fine. You'll be back to work the next day." That's not quite how it went. But I did have an angel reading during that time from the person that I go to, and she basically said, your body can't do anything right now. You've hit the limit and you've gone a little bit past it. And she told me that what the angels were saying was not to do anything until August 14th. Like, don't even think about trying to work, which is this Friday. So that was the date that they gave me. So I'm coming up on that, and I'm actually like feeling better. So a little more energy, a little more, like my sacral response was just dead. There was nothing happening at all. No responses to anything.
Time to rest.
I did have several crystal healing sessions. I'm doing more mediumship readings for people. So that's, I guess, my win. I haven't really had the energy to do that all year, which, I mean, geez, we're in August. It's been 8 months. The thing that shifted was allowing rest instead of pushing. I am very type A, and the deconditioning as a Manny-Gen has been not doing all of the things, even though I want to do the things. I just don't have the energy to do the things. That's been the biggest shift for me. And then also really digging into cycles. I'm in perimenopause, so even though like that cycles are ending for me, I'm doing this hormone group online, like a group supported program, and they break it into 4 phases every month. And I'm going, okay, this is what I should have been doing 15 years ago. You know what I mean? Like because it actually fits in with my human design, I think, too, as far as like being really tied into cycles. I think Kristen told me that in my very first human design reading from her, which was like a year and a half ago. She said something about you need to pay attention to cycles. So I'm paying a lot more attention to the moon cycle because that's tied into this group, just the cycles of energy in my body. And I think this is really the year for that. So that's the big shift for me. One thing I could use support on is I need a few more people who would be willing to give me crystal healing session testimonials.
Oh, Kelly says
So,
yeah.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Kelly. If there's anybody who would like to receive a session and give me a testimonial that I can put on my website, because that's, I think, where I need to head. And the other interesting thing, so I had that angel session, and she's like, basically, my angels kind of get snarky. That's apparently the language that I work with. They were like, you're not listening to us. For 10 years, we've been telling you, you're a medium, you're a medium, you're a medium. You're just not. You want to go over here and sell crystals, and you want to do crystal healing. And my crystal healing sessions do have a little bit of mediumship worked into them just because people pop in. But they're like, you're not listening to us. So I went back and listened on Lions Gate Portal Day, actually. I went back and was listening to some of my sessions that I had recorded from like years ago. And literally every single one of them, there was a point where they're like, you're not doing mediumship. We've been telling you this and you're not listening. I was like, okay, fine. Maybe I just need to do that and see what happens. So I've been really kind of journaling about why I'm not doing mediumship. And it comes back to like, my adoptive father was a pastor, and I got punished a lot as a kid because I would talk about, grandma so-and-so is here telling me this. And that was really, I learned very early that was dangerous to be able to do that, because it got me in a lot of trouble, a physical punishment. my therapist says it would be called abuse today, but my parents were big into physical punishment. So kind of digging into that, yeah, a lot of kids, my own children have some abilities, and I have tried really hard to encourage that in them. It's actually, some of it is genetic, I think, from my biological family. But kind of digging into that, and it's like, you know what, I'm just going to do the mediumship thing. I've taken a bunch of classes. I take these classes, and then I don't do it. So let's just go with it for the next month and see what happens. So I guess that's the only thing I need is a couple of people to sign up for it. And I'll put my link in the group.
Yeah, put that in the group. I'm sure that there's already a bunch of hands for all the things. So I'd be happy to support you in that. Yeah, and
I enjoy doing crystal healing sessions. I don't get that same enjoyment out of the mediumship sessions. Like, I mean, I enjoy it when people are happy with their reading and they get some sort of closure or message that gives them comfort. So I think maybe I just need to do a bunch more and try to figure out what that is that I'm not enjoying, so that I can, because I have that sacral response, I have to love what I'm doing.
yes.
So
yeah.
a fusion between the crystal healing and and that's what I do it right now.
Yeah, so like, because what was coming from me in my body was like, so I'm in yoga teacher training right now, and so the way that I do yoga is I pull my oracle cards first and I go through, but then a lot of the times there's a bit of channeling in some ways that goes, and I realize that because people would share, oh, that one specific example you shared that you thought was random actually is something I'm experiencing right now. So like something simple, like the other day I was doing a live, I think last night, and I said something about flossing your teeth at night. My sister commented, or just like, how did you know I haven't in 3 weeks? And she's obsessed with flossing. So like for her, that's a big breakdown. And so something like that. So I just was thinking of like, is there a way to break down societal norms of like what counts as mediumship and what would be a crystal session, and just let there be this blossoming of what you do through that, and just like, instead the energy shift of while doing the crystal session of saying, oh yeah, I am a medium, and like letting more of that come through, because perhaps before there was that subconscious block of like, no, we don't do that, while your angels were like, Anna, cut the shit. But yeah, I'll end rant, but that's what was coming up for me.
Okay. Yeah, there is some fusion. I think I get freaked out because like everybody's like, you need to figure out your niche, audience. But then I read something this week, a human design person was like, if you're a Mani-Gen, you don't have a niche. So I think I'm having a little bit of trouble explaining to people what I do. And that's why I'm not getting clients.
I guess this is also from Spellbinding sales. So working backwards, or forwards actually, like focusing on the transformation that you want for your audience, whoever they are, and then that's how they know that they're supposed to work with you. So I don't know if that helps, but at least that way it's not like, I'm looking at, stay-at-home moms who have 3 children and a dog and live in Utah, and like that stuff. You're just focusing on like the end result that people may not even know that we're looking for, but need.
It was hard to hear you there, Deborah.
I can't hear you.
Yeah, she was talking about focusing on the transformation, and that's the part that brings the people in versus niching down. Is that right, Deborah? Yes. Okay.
In addition to that too, like niching is essentially you taking all of your things and combining it, and that's what your niche is like just finding the language, like you said. Like the real struggle is just describing it. But I love Deborah's point about the major transformation, and if you can, like, there's a freelance writing technique, it's called the mashup. It's like the XY mashup. So if you list the words of all the things that you do and just mash them together, and one pot stop your offer name. I don't know if that makes sense. You could also like actually, I don't know if this isn't relevant. I was going to say, like, take all of the adjectives and similar keywords and, like, put them in a hat and just draw things and then respond, you know.
Yeah, you or the words and see how that goes. Yeah.
That's a great idea, Kelly. Thank
Yeah, I
you.
love that.
And Deborah, thank you.
All the generators and Mani-Gens could
I'll work forward with the transformation.
Yeah. I don't know, something that I want to acknowledge, or I'm not sure if it's acknowledge or recognize, though, is like with your gift of mediumship, like having suffered physical abuse from it, like it's no wonder that your body is feeling the way that it is, right? So I guess just witnessing you in that, and just a reminder to be gentle with yourself, that as you go through this, that if physical things pop up, just to try and be with it, to release it.
Yeah, I think that's part of why I'm afraid to offer it to other people right now.
Yeah.
Because if somebody pays me for mediumship and I freeze or something, then what do I do? Yeah. So I've been working with other groups, like mediumship groups, mostly. Because I do sometimes, you know. Yeah. Thank you, Anne.
So yeah, so if you could share your booking links or however you want to do that in the group, so that we can support you in those readings. And if you need help with adjectives or anything like that too, feel free to poll us for that.
I do have a couple of really great testimonials. Deborah gave me a beautiful testimonial. I should pick that apart and pull the words out of that too. That would help. Thank you.
Is there anything else that we can support you in today, or do you feel complete?
No, I feel pretty good for now.
Yay.
Thank you.
Cool. Okay, well, I think, yeah, and we're like on time. 2 hours. So yeah, does anybody have anything else they would like to share or express, or just want to come off mute and everybody say goodbye to each other?
I will share super quickly. It's just on my heart, so that way if people want to talk about it later, we can. But something that I recently was introduced to in another like 6-week course thing that I'm doing, was the idea of how you connect with people is through your open centers. And so potentially, like from the not self theme of like offering what your experience is of navigating that space, is then the energy other people will receive when they're going through, whether it's your post or your message. So just to offer that out in case, because I know I can get really, not necessarily in my head while creating the post, but then when it's at the point of like, no, that's a lie. I was not being honest. I do get in my head of like with the right words in that way, but that's helped me in the past few weeks of even being like, oh, this feels like a spleen topic, and then letting that part of dropping in. So I just wanted to share that of like, how could your open centers be what's connecting? So for me, like what I do is actually really the energy of my mind and ajna, but how I express that, how I offer that connection is through the open centers, just in case anyone experiences that in the upcoming time of a different way to approach that energy.
That makes a lot of sense, because that is where we hold our greatest wisdom, is in our open centers, right? So diving into those that way, I like that. Thank you. Okay, well, thank you everybody. This was fun. And I will, get the video processed and up into the group later today. And you're welcome. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you in the group.